Ladies and gentlemen, Primetime CP23 back again with the second part of the patch 2.6.1 PTR patch notes. Now again, these are preliminary patch notes, but they're still pretty freaking crazy. So let's talk about this for just a few minutes. We're going to be looking at Necromancer changes. So first off, the Bloodsong Male, while in Land of the Dead, command skeletons does not gain all the effects, or gain all of the runes, and it deals additional damage. That part is not changed. So now instead of gaining all the runes, it gains Enforcer, Frenzy, Dark Mending, and Freezing Grasp. So as long as you're using whatever the other rune is, I think you're going to be okay. I don't know off the top of my head what the other rune is, but I digress. The Bloodtide Blade, Death Nova damage is going to get buffed to up to 100% increased damage for every enemy within 25 yards. It's good. It's a straight damage buff for a skill that doesn't really get used too much, so I mean that's a good thing. Dainty's Binding, you now do not have to use Decrepify to get the damage reduction. You now use any of your curses, which is awesome because Decrepify was literally only used because of this. Now that you can use any curse, Decrepify will 100% of the time be replaced by Frailty, because Frailty is just a strict 15% damage buff. It's ridiculous. And now you get that damage buff plus an additional 50% damage reduction because of Dainty's Binding. Defiler Khusus, words are fun. Bone Spirit damage is now increased by up to 500% for every second that it's active. Bone Spirit doesn't really get used, but we'll see if that gets changed now. Fate's Vow, Army of the Dead, now deals an additional 200 to 250% damage and gains the effect of Unconventional Warfare. Golem Skin Breaches, you now take 30% less damage while your golem is alive. The cooldown of your command golem is reduced by 20 to 25 seconds. That's awesome because I don't really think anyone used Golem Skin Breaches for the damage buff on your golem. I don't think anyone actually cared. But rather they used it for the damage reduction while your golem is alive. And now you're also getting reduced cooldown, which is going to make this a much more useful item. Because even if it's only a reduced cooldown on Command Golem, that's still awesome. Legger's Disdain, Grim Scythe deals an additional up to 80% damage for each point of essence it restores. That could be really crazy. I don't know the exact math on it, but I know that I believe Grim Scythe restores 22 points of essence or something like that. So I mean, if you're using, for instance, the Singularity rune on Skeletal Mage, then every time you hit with Grim Scythe, you're going to deal, 80 times 22. So you're going to be dealing, I don't know. I don't really know what I'm trying to do here because math is not my friend. But it's a big damage increase. Lost time, it's going to increase your movement speed by 8 to 10% for 5 seconds up to 5 stacks. Basically doubling the movement speed buff. Maltorius' Petrified Spike. This is pretty cool. This tells me that the Pestilence Master Shroud set is going to be the starter set for Season 12, because now Bone Spear is going to deal an additional 550 to 700% damage, but it is going to cost 40 more essence. But it's a pretty big damage buff. I think as it worked out, I think somebody had worked out the math. I don't know exactly who it was. I don't remember the exact context. But I believe I saw that that the 20 additional essence kind of balanced out with the additional damage, so that it was basically a straight 1-to-1 trade-off. Now you're going to be getting more additional damage for the additional essence cost, so that's a good thing. I don't really understand the changes to Mask of the Scarlet Death because I never played with that item, so I don't really understand it. I've not used Revive, I think, since ever, just to be completely honest here. Nair's Black Death. Each different poison skill you use increases the damage of your poison skills by 75 to 100% for 15 seconds. It's kind of cool. It's kind of getting to where it was before this item was nerfed in the original Necromancer beta, when it was part of a Bones of Rathma build that used the Poison Skeletal Mage and basically just revolved around keeping yourself invulnerable at all times. So I mean, this is getting a little damage buff. We'll see if this becomes an item people use again. Scythe of the Cycle is just getting a straight damage buff. Plain and simple, and that's already an item that a lot of people use. So, Steward's Greaves. I think this buff is going to make this item a lot more useful, especially in speed farming. Now you're going to gain 75 to 100% additional movement speed for 10 seconds after using Blood Rush. That's a pretty big change. And the Johnstone, now you automatically get 50 stacks of Macabre Knowledge, and when Land of the Dead expires, and each stack of Macabre Knowledge increases the damage of Corpse Lance and Corpse Explosion by 150 to 200%. So another pretty big damage buff. Moving on to the set items here for the Necromancer. Pestilence Master Shroud. The Empowered Bone Speeder charge that you get still does 3,000% additional damage, which I think that needs to be buffed, but that's another story for another day. And now, both Corpse Lance and Corpse Explosion damage is increased by 1,500%. So that's kind of cool. That kind of gives you the choice on whether you want to run Corpse Lance or Corpse Explosion. I think the consensus is going to be Corpse Lance, because the two-piece of Pestilence Master Shroud has not been changed, so it still revolves around Corpse Lance. So, but we'll see. Trag'oul's Avatar. Your life spending abilities still deal 3,000 to 300% increased damage, and now they no longer cost twice as much life. So the strongest set in the game, arguably, just got stronger because now you're not using twice as much life to use everything. So take from that what you will. For some other changes, shields acquired by a Necromancer can now roll the plus max essence affix. Just random bug fixes. Fixed an issue where mimics created from Rabid Strike were not correctly inheriting the player's damage buffs from Lashing Tail Kick, Seven-Sided Strike, Cyclone Strike, Exploding Palm, and Wave of Light. Fixed an issue where after dying the pet bonuses granted from Jethith's arms could sometimes be lost if skeletons are recommanded onto the same target. Fixed an issue that prevented the free Bone Nova from being that prevented the free Bone Nova granted by the Iron Rose offhand from correctly granting the damage bonus from the trag'oul 6-piece. That's awesome. Fixing that might make Bone Nova a little more viable. Or Blood Nova, rather. Fix an issue where certain items drop for the Necromancer, or rather, that drop for Necromancer that cannot be equipped by the class. And fixed an issue where Necromancer skills didn't properly taunt enemies when Boyarski's chip is equipped. And finally, fixed an issue that prevented additional Thorns damage bonus granted by Aberrant Animator from correctly applying to items such as the Spear of Gyro. So those are all of the changes to classes and items. Changes on some rifts. It's supposedly going to reduce the number of dead ends on the Temple of the Firstborn tile set. Thank God. I hate that tile set. That is 100% my least favorite tile set. It's going to increase the amount of experience and rift progress granted by the Hematic Disciples. It's going to reduce the fog effect in the Shrouded Moors, which is good, because that's a little intense sometimes. When you get that horrible red mist all over the screen, it's horrible. Shield pylons are no longer going to reflect damage because they were causing performance issues at high density. And that's going to about do it. We'll just kind of read over some of the comments here. Mr. Brightside's pretty hyped about some barbarian buffs. I mean, we've got a lot to talk about here. Hopefully, I'll be able to get somebody on for a podcast here this weekend so that we can, more in-depth discuss these changes and what they mean for the good of the game. But we'll see. I think I am most excited about the Uliana Stratagem buffs because that's awesome and it needed buffed desperately. So ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for today's video. If you liked this video, please make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. And until next time, this is Primetime CP23, and I'm out.